Hello everyone, my name is Owen. It is the 25th of April 2018. Can you please introduce yourself?
My name is Kerry Owen.
My name's Billy Owen.
My name is Stephen Rodwell.
Thank you. So before we start, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself and the whole reason I'm going to be talking about this topic today. So when I was in school, I studied child development, and whilst at school I completed 2 work experiences in 2 different nursery settings, and then once I left school I started college, and in college I studied child development for 2 years. And then after college, after I passed my childcare course in college, I then went on to do a level 2 apprenticeship in a nursery setting, and I completed that. I then went on, straight after that, I then went on to complete my level 3 in childcare, and I've been working in childcare for almost 10 years now. So today, that's what I'm going to be talking to you about my time in childcare. And the topic is the EYFS. Does anybody know what that stands for?
No.
Early years,
Yeah, nearly there.
I don't know.
So it stands for the Early Years Foundation Stage. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you about today. So the objectives for today are: 1, for you all to have a basic understanding of what the EYFS is. 2, to also have a basic understanding of what learning intentions are. And 3, to know and recognise all the 7 areas of learning. So before we start, there's just some important information and some ground rules that we've got to go over. So in the event of a fire, if you can get to the back door, just go to the back of the garden. And if you have to go out to the front door, just go across the street. First aid, if there's any first aid problems, I'm first aid trained. I think Billy is as well. Are you first aid trained?
I am.
Yeah, and there's also a medical box in the end cupboard there. If you need to use the toilet, it's just to my right. Please make sure that your mobile is switched off. I have to mention equality and diversity. Obviously we've all got different views, values and opinions, so can we please all just appreciate that. And health and safety, the only health and safety issue I can see would be the laptop and the wire, so if you go that way, please just be careful. So I thought we could start with a little icebreaker, and I would like you to think of 2 facts, 1 true and 1 false, and write them down on the piece of paper, please. So for example, my 2 facts will be 1, I have visited 12 countries, and 2, I have bungee jumped in all of those countries. So after you've done your facts, you can tell me which one you think is true and which one is false. Are we done? So does anyone want to give mine a go first? Which one was true?
Time again.
So it was, I visited 12 countries, or I have bungee jumped in all of those 12 countries.
You've been to 12 countries.
I'd say the first one.
First one, true.
Yeah, that's true. I have not bungee jumped ever. Right, do you want to do yours, Stephen?
Okay. I love cars and drive them all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know how to build a computer.
Okay. What do we think?
I'd say the first one again.
What, true?
True.
I'd say the second one's true.
I say the first one's true. Are we right?
No.
No. Okay, so you can build a computer.
Yes.
Okay. Go on then, Billy.
First one is I run the London Marathon in 2016 and I've been playing football since I'm 10 years old.
Second one's true.
I say the second one's true.
First one.
No, second one.
You've been playing football?
Yeah.
Since you was 10?
Mm-hmm.
Alright. Kerry, do you want to do yours?
Right, I have been to Florida more than 15 times
Yeah.
and I hate cats.
Okay.
Say the second one
What, true?
Is what?
is true.
First one.
Alright. What's the true
The
fact?
true one is the first one. Florida.
You've been to Florida over 15
Yeah.
times. Okay.
Cool.
Right, well done. Thank you for doing that. So now I'm going to get into the topic. And the topic is the EYFS. So can anyone remember what it stands for?
Early years foundation stage.
Yeah, that's correct. So, the early years foundation stage is a framework and it was developed for children from ages from birth to 5 years old. All registered Ofsted providers have to follow the framework. So this includes nursery settings, childminders, after school clubs, breakfast clubs and reception classes in schools. The framework was set up to help and support children in their learning and development. The framework is built up of 7 different areas and they are PSE, communication and language, literacy, maths, physical, understanding of the world and expressive arts and designs. The framework was then split up into 2 sections, so you've got your prime areas and your specific areas. In the prime areas you've got three different areas, so you've got your PSE, communication and language and physical development. They was made into prime areas for practitioners like myself to be able to recognise early on if a child isn't meeting their learning goals. So in PSE it's mostly about children making relationships and their self-confidence, and in communication and language it's about how they understand language and how they communicate with other people. And then physical development is all about their fine and gross motor skills and their health and self-care. So you'll find if a child wasn't meeting their learning intentions in these areas, the child may have some kind of additional need, because often children with additional needs find it hard to communicate, find it difficult to socialise and don't often be independent with their healthcare, so like using the toilet independently or even understanding the use of the toilet. Okay, and then the specific areas are your literacy, your maths, your understanding of the world and your expressive arts and design. So I just wanted to talk to you a bit more about them learning intentions, because I'm going to give you a bit of a quiz at the end about them. So what learning intentions are, they're statements. So within a specific area there are lots of statements according to different children's ages. And as a practitioner, you can mark off these statements by organising activities or working with parents just to help them achieve their learning goals. So I've got here all the different areas, so there's 7 areas on here. I'd like you to just read the underlined part and just tell me what the area is, please. So if you could start.
Okay, so the first one is PSE.
Okay, so PSE is all about how the child makes relationships, and it's about their self-confidence and self-awareness. So there's a few statements on there, if you could just read them out, please.
Okay, so express own preferences and interests, can select and use activities and resources with help, can express their own feelings, begins to accept the need for others and share resources with support.
Okay, thank you. Billy, could you read the next one, please?
The next one is communication and language.
So communication and language is all about obviously how the child communicates with their peers, and it's about understanding the use of language and understanding how sentences work and how to use sentences in context and things like that. Could you read the statements, please?
Yeah, the first one is recognises and responds to familiar sounds, for example, turning to a knock at the door. The next one is able to follow directions, understands more complex sentences, and learns new words rapidly and uses them in communication.
Thank you. Stephen? Just the underlined area, please.
Physical development.
Okay, so physical is made up of two parts. So it's the first part is about their fine and gross motor skills. So it's about how can they hold scissors and how they hold their pens and their writing tools, and also like single-handed tools. So that'll be their fine motor skills. And then the gross motor skills are about like running and riding bikes and jumping and things like that. Could you read the statements from there? Oh, sorry, I didn't tell you the second part, sorry. So the second part is health and self-care. So that's all about being independent in their health and self-care. So using the toilet independently, understanding the use of the toilet, washing and drying their hands, using a knife and fork and a spoon. Yeah? Can you just read the statements?
Runs safely on whole foot. Holds pencil between thumb and 2 fingers. No longer uses the whole hand grasp. Drinks well without spilling. Clearly communicates the need to use the toilet or potty.
Thank you. And the next one, Kerry?
Pass me that. Right, so the next one is literacy.
Literacy. So literacy again is 2 parts. So you've got your reading and your writing. So in the reading, it's for the child maybe to recognise print. So various logos, for example, they might recognise a Tesco logo and recognising their name. So it's all print. And then the writing is maybe writing sentences, also recognising print again, how they're holding their pen and things like that. Could you just read them statements, please?
So, enjoys rhyming activities, looks at books independently, begins to be aware of the way stories are structured, and shows interest in print in the environment.
Thank you. Billy?
The next one is maths.
Maths. So maths is all about numbers, and then you've got your shape, space and measure. So with your numbers, it's all about recognising numbers, counting, being able to separate and, I'm trying to think of the word, sorry. Being able to separate and give examples of different types of numbers. And then your shape, space and measure could be puzzles, recognising shapes and using shapes for a purpose. Could you just read the statements?
Top one is recites numbers in sequences, shows an interest in a number of problems, notices simple shapes in pictures, and enjoys filling and emptying containers.
Thank you. Stephen, is there one more?
Expressive arts and design.
Yeah, so expressive arts and design, that's made up of 2 parts. So it's all about exploring media and materials, which involves getting messy really. So exploring paint, exploring how colours can be changed, understanding that tools can be used for a purpose. And then you've got your being imaginative, so creating stories, maybe dressing up, some role play, yeah? Could you just read the statements, please?
Begin to describe the texture of things. Enjoy ring games. Engages in imaginative play. Uses movement to express feelings.
Yeah? So you've got that one there to look at. So I thought we'd just have a little quiz. So I've got 7 different learning intentions here, and I'm going to read them out. So different statements. You can write them down if you want. And I would like you to have a little discussion and tell me what area you think they fit into. So you've got your examples there. Yeah, does everybody understand?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the first one, the child welcomes and values praise.
Let's see this.
So you can have a discussion and see what you think. What area you think it might fit into.
Welcomes and values praise. PSE.
Yeah, I'd say that.
So Stephen thinks PSE. What do you think, Kerry? So remember, that's going to be about their self-confidence.
PSE.
Yeah? So do you all agree on PSE?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's correct. Well done. So then the next one is, the child is able to follow directions. So think about how they're going to interpret them directions. The whole process.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah, communication and language.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Stephen?
No.
Communication and language? Yeah, that's correct. Well done. Right, the next one. The child shows awareness of rhyme and alliteration.
That's literature on the reading.
You've got a good memory
Yeah,
to know reading.
yeah, literacy.
What do you think, Stephen?
Yeah, literacy.
So you're right, it is literacy. So Billy reckons it's reading. So remember, there's 2 parts, reading and writing. So what do you think?
Reading.
Stephen?
No.
Yeah, it's reading. Well done. The next one is a bit easy. They can count beyond 10.
Maths.
Maths.
Yeah, well done. The next one, the child can feed themselves with a spoon.
That's,
Physical development.
Physical development.
Yeah, do you all agree? Physical? Yeah, you're right. Who can remember, bonus points, what part of physical?
motor skills.
So remember, you've got your fine and gross motor skills. Could be either, I suppose, or your health and self-care. Which one do you reckon?
Health and self-care.
Motor skills.
Motor skills.
So you're saying motor skills, Stephen's saying motor skills, and what are you
was the
saying?
question?
So the child can feed themselves with a spoon.
Health and self-care.
You're right. Billy's right.
I don't see how that's right.
Because they're being independent in self-care, feeding themselves.
But at the same time, if they didn't have the motor skills, they wouldn't be able to do that.
That's very true. It could go in either area, but they've decided to put it there. Right, the next one. The child shows care and concern for living things. Have a look.
That is understanding the world.
No, I'd say
No.
PSE, because it's showing emotion.
What was it?
So the child shows care and concern for living things.
PSE.
So Stephen says, so do you all say PSE?
Mm-hmm.
No, it's understanding the world.
I said that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
So in understanding of the world, it's made up of 3 parts. So you've got your people and communities, the world and technology, and it actually just comes under the world. But good try. And then the last one, the child explores colour.
Expressive arts and design.
Yep.
What do you say, Stephen?
Expressive arts.
One?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so in expressive arts and design, you've got your exploring media and materials and being imaginative. So which one does it fall under?
Imagination.
No. Good try though. It's exploring media and materials. Yeah. So they're gonna. So when they explore the colour, they might be interested in the texture of the paint, and they might enjoy mixing the paint to achieve different effects. Yeah. So there's lots of different ways that practitioners can meet these learning intentions. So for example, if we take literacy, and one of the statements is enjoying rhyming activities, a practitioner could maybe get out some rhyming puzzles, so rhyming games, or they could do some rhyming songs or rhyming books. There's lots of different things that you could do. And for maths, enjoys filling and emptying containers. You could just use the sand tray with lots of cups, lots of different buckets, and that's how simple it is. They just fill and empty the containers. So for expressive arts and design, begin to describe the texture of things. Could anybody give me an example of how a practitioner could cover that statement for the child to be able to describe the texture of things?
You have 4 different boxes, one with sand in it, one with water in it, one with grass, one with mud.
That's brilliant. Well done. What about, how about communication and language? Understand more complex sentences. Could anybody tell me how to do that? No?
Say that again.
So for the child to be able to cover that statement, which is to understand more complex sentences, does anybody know how to do that with the child? No?
Maybe create a sentence for something they're doing throughout their day and ask them what it means if they don't explain it to them, and get them to recite it back to you.
Yeah, you could do. Or, for example, if you said to the child, could you pick up your toys please? They could understand that and follow through that direction. But then to extend it and make it a complex sentence, you could say, could you pick up your toys please, because we could go into the garden after. Yeah? So you could just add because or and. Yeah? So has anybody got any questions about the learning intentions?
None from you?
No? Well, I think that's me finished.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.